Welcome to a First Thoughts edition of the Deuce and Mo podcast. Of course, every single First Thoughts presented by our friends at Guaranteed Rate. Check out rate.com/Sean Stanfield. I'm Deuce Mason. That's Morgan Reagan. The Kings finish a two-game set. We'll call it a set. In San Antonio, 1-1. They fall against the Spurs tonight, 120-106. How you doing, Mo?
Good. I'm good.
Not freaking out or anything about this loss?
And that's the thing. Like, I'm not upset either, which feels really good to not be, like, on an emotional roller coaster tonight and just get to watch a Kings game. A Kings team play this Spurs team that is still a very good team.
They are a very good team. I mean, with the win tonight, the Spurs are now 24-21. They've been in that 8th spot in the Western Conference, and this game was frustrating in many ways. If you're a Kings fan tonight, you knew Pop and his group were going to make adjustments. Mm-hmm. I thought they came out extra physical tonight.
Yeah,
I felt like they were aggressive with Fox, and I felt as if they wanted to turn Fox into a playmaker instead of a shot maker. And they were like, you know what, pass the ball, go ahead. And Fox made some tough passes. They deflected. They ripped the ball a couple of times. And in that first half, Fox and Hield combined 0 for 12 shooting.
Yeah, they did it. You've got to give credit to the Spurs defense, because I think sometimes too, when you look at it, it's like, man, they're just missing some shots. And that's what I even felt with Buddy. I was texting.
Oh, they definitely did that for sure.
And they did. There was a lot of shots that were just missed, right? Especially in that first half by Buddy. And it really, you got to give that credit to the Spurs defense by making things a little bit more difficult, by being a little bit more physical, by not only getting up on the guys that were scoring all the points last time, being like, all right, this team is not going to shoot over 50% from three this time.
The Spurs needed this game too. Like, let's not get twisted. They had been in a little bit of a funk too. Losers of 5 of 6. Their home record was below 500 going into tonight's game. So they really need this game. They played well. Walton was saying before the game, their big focus tonight was, we got to make sure DeRozan doesn't kill us, because he's going to come out with a different mindset. And he did. Like, DeRozan, who I still don't feel like gets enough love in the NBA for what type of player he is. He's consistently good. He doesn't take threes. We were joking in our before our pregame show about this. The last couple of games, we set the over-under on 3-point attempts for DeMar DeRozan at half. Like, is he just going to shoot one? Tonight, DeMar DeRozan had 26 points. He did take two. He did not take a three. He was 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Did not take a three.
Did you have the over or the under?
I think I've been taking the under on those.
Okay. You talk about DeMar DeRozan. I do want to go back to him too, but you look at this entire Spurs team and the way that they were shooting tonight. It kind of flip-flopped, right? Where the Kings were having the better shooting game the first night around, and then the Spurs tonight were shooting so well from three. I mean, the amount of threes that they were making, especially in that first half, when they're not even this big 3-point shooting team.
Yes.
It was one of those games like, all right, what adjustments are you going to make? And you saw the Kings fight back, make those adjustments. But when you have a leader like DeMar DeRozan, who knows how to get to the basket, who knows how to facilitate an offense, he is so good. And I think you're right when you say that he's underrated in this league.
So DeRozan, by the way, finished this one 26 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. I do want to go back to something you mentioned on the 3-point shooting, because in the first half, it was ridiculous. San Antonio was 9 of 15 from 3. It was kind of like the opposite of the first game, where Sacramento hit 11 threes in the first half.
That's what I said.
In that first game. But what I want to bring up, and maybe this is just me overthinking things.
Yeah.
Pirtle killed them on the glass. And he did a good job tonight. Pirtle, by the way, had 14 rebounds again. I felt like early on with Sacramento, with the 3-point, like the Spurs were getting so many looks. I felt like they were so focused on protecting the paint, and maybe they felt like because of the smaller lineup they were putting out there that they could recover quickly on contesting the threes, but they weren't. So they were just, it was every time a Spur drove, it was like there was an open 3-point shooter, and
it's like they
knock them down.
They made their adjustments for Pirtle, for the paint with the Spurs, and it really didn't go well for them on that side because the Spurs were hitting their shots. And they were kind of banking on maybe those guys not making as many shots, but that's not really something you can do in this league. You got to be ready for it all.
Another thing that jumped out to me in this game, Morgan. So at halftime, the Spurs led 69-53. We go to the third quarter. Fox and Hield finally make their first field goals of the game.
Oh, my God.
Think about this. Fox takes a three, makes it at the 11:25 mark, his first field goal of the game. Then Hield answers at the 10:31 mark with a three. But then the Kings can't get any stop. The lead balloons to 21 points. The Spurs started the third quarter 9 of 10 shooting.
Yeah, it was well done by them. You know, Fox kind of did a good job, obviously, hitting that three, getting himself going again, you thought, especially in that third quarter. But the Spurs were just on a different level, especially on the offensive end. But on the defensive end, they were getting steals. They were doing a lot for themselves to get themselves in that transition game, which the Kings' transition defense is just still atrocious. So it's like, what are you supposed to do when you have a team that is terrible in transition D? Well, the Spurs did exactly what they needed to do to just dominate them.
Points off turnovers were huge tonight. Sacramento had 12 turnovers, which is not a terrible number. That's not bad. They had 7 the last game, which is outstanding. Those 12 turnovers turned into 19 points. San Antonio had 11 turnovers, turned only into 7 points. The second half kills me looking at some of those numbers in the second half because I felt like Sacramento had opportunities. And they started playing a little better defense. Spurs, I mentioned their hot start to start the third. Then they went ice cold, and then the Kings could not recover. Finally, they got it to like 12. I wrote this down because this is just killer to me. This was at the end of the third quarter. It's 94-82. They had multiple chances to cut the lead to 10. Then Gay gets fouled by Metu on a three-point attempt.
And that right there, too, not only does it stop the clock, allow this player to go to the line for 3 free shots, but it does screw with the momentum of a game, especially when it's beyond the arc. That's like the number one deflator for any team.
So then we go to the fourth quarter. Same thing. Here's a swing play to me that just killed me. It's 97-84. Fox takes a three. Early shot clock, airballs it. Okay?
Yep, I remember.
And then what happens? Patty Mills gets fouled on a three-point attempt.
There was just some tough plays like that happening. And those plays go to really staying focused throughout and staying engaged in every single second of this game. Now, I will say this, because I say staying focused and engaged, I believe this Kings roster, from the starters to the second unit, the effort never stopped. And that's why I think this game was still fun to watch, even when it was a 20-plus point game.
You thought it was fun to watch, huh?
I did. I still had fun watching, because the way that you see Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes fight underneath the basket.
I'll give you that.
And then on top of that, just seeing a new player like DeLon Wright on this squad, obviously he had a better first half than he did in the second, but seeing what he can do. And then Terrence Davis, you look at him just being scrappy on the defensive end, still trying to get things going. It felt like no one was going to give up until 2 minutes left in that game, when they sat De'Aaron Fox down and said, all right, white flag.
Yeah, I thought they played much better defense in the second half, but then you started missing like so many shots. They just missed a lot of shots. And here's a second half number that to me tells you everything. San Antonio in the second half shot 40%. They were 1 of 8 from 3. They had 8 turnovers in the second half. You know how many points the Kings scored off those 8 turnovers? Any guesses?
I'm going to guess 0.
3.
Okay. I was just going super low.
That's brutal.
It felt
and
like
it was
that.
Barnes missing layups. They were missing around the basket. It was just one of those nights. And that's where you're right. I didn't feel like the Kings like totally crapped the bed tonight, or it was like a pathetic excuse of a game. I thought the Spurs came out hot. Then the Spurs cooled down. The Kings just couldn't get it going offensively, and they had every opportunity to get back in this game and win it. But it's hard to beat a team twice in a row, both on the road. It's even harder when you're taking on like a Popovich-led team. I want to get to some big picture things in just a second, including talking about a point you were hitting on Holmes and Barnes, talk about Hield, and what looks like It's going to be an interesting 5-game stretch ahead for Sacramento. But first, tonight's first thoughts presented by our friends at Guaranteed Rate, Morgan Reagan.
Reasons Sean Stanfield and his team at Guaranteed Rate should be your first thought. You like that? When you're looking to purchase a home or refinance your current loan. High-tech mortgage solutions with a human touch experience, which I believe is like 1 and 2 because, it's great that you don't have to deal with the damn robot. Super simple digital mortgage solutions that can have you shopping for homes or searching new refinancing loan options fast, saving money.
Okay,
that's all
I like
fun,
it.
You can get loan options, neighborhood, market, and current rate research with just a few clicks, or all from your phone or tablet without running your credit or asking for your personal information. One of my least favorite things is when you have to give up all your information, just get like a discount code or even to get a free trial to anything. So I love this about Guarantee Rate.
Well, visit rate.com/Sean Stanfield. That's SEAN Stanfield to connect with Sean and his team and access tools that will make your purchase or refinance experience positively different. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval, NMLS ID number 349707, company NMLS ID number 2611, NLMS, consumeraccess.org. Thanks so much to our friends at Guaranteed Rate.
Guaranteed.
Rate.
Guaranteed.
Rate.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
We're also presented by New York Times best-selling author, also an Amazon self-published author that hit the Amazon top charts last year. She writes the thrillers of all thrillers, the one and only T.R. Reagan.
Yes, you can get T.R. Reagan's newest books right now on Amazon.com, or you can go to trreagan.com. Check out all of her books. Yeah, and if you're wondering, it is my mom. She's always been loving what Deuce and I have been doing with this podcast, but also she kind of has the same story. She really started from the bottom.
Now she here?
Now she here. She's just working her ass off, and then finally decided, hey, no one's taking my bait. I'm going to self-publish, and there you go. She became successful with her thrillers. Millions of people have read her books and love them. So if you need a book to read, make sure to go to trreagan.com.
Okay, Morgan Reagan, I want to talk some big picture items here because I think it's a theme. Sacramento has gotten hurt a lot by bigs.
Yep.
And as great as I think Richaun Holmes has been this year, he can't do it by himself. And you're seeing lineups with Sacramento right now where Harrison Barnes is playing some 4. Hell, sometimes Mo Harkless is at the 5. They play Metu. Those guys try their best, and Harrison Barnes tonight had 14 rebounds. That's great.
Yeah.
But there's a theme of bigger, taller, stronger guys like Pirtle hurting Sacramento. I just don't know how they handle this going forward because it's a problem that I don't think is going away for Sacramento.
I think you know what it needs to be, how it needs to be handled.
Oh no, are you saying Hassan Whiteside? Bat signal?
No. I'm not even saying it's necessarily him, but it's that body size. It's having that, being able to have that personnel on your squad so you can go to that person, especially in these type of games. Now, obviously that person, most likely if they're going to be that big and that big of a body size, let's say their liability on the offensive end, or, they're wherever they are on the court, they can't do it all like a lot of the really good bigs in this league. But at the same time, you need that size, because throwing in that size when you need it most against a team like the Spurs, or even like we talked about Alex Lynn, and you go to Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, you look at these guys with girth, and you have to have a bigger body to go up against them. And
I wouldn't say Whiteside's the answer at all. I mean, honestly, it's someone like, to me, if Metu's around next year, he's got to add some size to his frame.
Right.
Can Holmes do that? Because Pirtle, what I like about him is he's very good defensively. He rebounds well, and he's not as stiff offensively. Like, he has a couple of nice moves, some nice fakes that, in my opinion, he would have gotten around Whiteside, no problem. Whiteside probably would have fouled him. He had 12 points and 14 rebounds tonight. Holmes, by the way, had another nice game, 14 points, 15 rebounds. He had a couple of block shots too, and I felt like he was doing everything he could. But there are sometimes he's going to come out in switches, then he's got to recover late, and Pirtle, is underneath the basket and who's with them, like Buddy Hield, Terrence Davis, and Harrison Barnes, and who is likely to win that matchup getting that rebound.
And that's going to happen in this league, right? Those switches and guys being down low and not being able to body up everyone. And that's what's so great about someone like Harrison Barnes. You can kind of trust when he gets in that mixed match of players. And if there is a big player, like he has a bigger body for his size and everything. But it's also great when you do look at someone like Richaun Holmes who can extend out and defend a guard and even bring a guard all the way down and keep his hands up straight. Like you see so many great things about him, but you still need to feel that presence in the paint from a bigger body. And it's not, Hassan Whiteside is not the answer, but again, you're trying to look at this league, what is the answer, and what can you really get on this squad going forward?
Like what you have right now. And maybe when Whiteside's able to come back, he can give you 10 minutes.
It was the same thing that we saw him do in, I forget which game it was, but I remember Hassan Whiteside was playing a lot of minutes, and it was because it was a matchup reason. And it was frustrating at times because you're like, but man, he's not doing this and he's screwing up this, and the Kings actually had this good rhythm going. But throwing him in there on a bigger body is definitely something that the Kings need to figure out in the offseason.
Some numbers I want to throw at you too, Morgan. We talk about the rebounding. If it wasn't for Barnes and Holmes, the Kings really wouldn't have many rebounds. Buddy Hield tonight, Morgan.
Yeah.
Was 5 of 18 shooting, 4 of 12 from 3. He did get the Kings kind of back in the game late third quarter. He had 1 rebound.
Okay.
Tyrese Halliburton in 30 minutes had 1 rebound. De'Aaron Fox in 33 minutes had no rebounds.
Yeah, and that's not good.
No.
It's not good because that just means everyone's not active on the boards, right? Like people are, I remember seeing a lot of people that tune into our chat really early on, and even in our first thoughts, talking about a lot of guys being tired. Well, both teams are tired, so how do you push through that, especially when you're playing this team on a, back-to-back? It's hard playing the same team, but also what's so great for the Sacramento Kings is that they got that experience tonight playing a team like that 2 times, obviously in a row, because that's what you do in the playoffs. And guess what? They haven't been in the playoffs for a very long time. De'Aaron Fox hasn't been in the playoffs since he's been in Sacramento. So getting that experience.
Oh, it's great. There's no denying the experience tonight of going through this and showing that, hey, if we don't bring it, if we don't adjust, if we don't come out with that same intensity against a desperate team, this is going to be the result. And we can't just let the offense dictate everything else. If we're struggling offensively, okay, but let's still go out there and compete defensively to give ourselves an opportunity. And I felt like in the second half, the defense was much better and the Spurs started missing shots. The Kings just couldn't capitalize offensively.
Yep.
And then you get desperate. You're taking bad shots. It just, it was just one of those nights for the Kings. Now, the key is making sure this doesn't spiral out of control. There's nothing wrong with going to San Antonio and splitting 1-1.
No.
Now, the last time the Kings had won 7 of 8, they went on to lose 9 in a row.
Correct.
You obviously can't do that. And the Kings' next 5 games coming up here, starting Friday night against the Lakers. Then it's a back-to-back the next night, home against the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's look at that first game.
Yeah.
The Lakers. Who knows about Andre Drummond's status at this point? They're currently playing right now. He left the game with a toe injury.
Yep.
Schroeder is back, but this is a team that's obviously missing Anthony Davis. It's missing LeBron James. You take Drummond out of that. That changes things a lot. To me, that's a game like you start looking at, hey, positioning and what we're trying to do here and winning games to get back in the playoff mix.
Totally.
You got to split the next 2 games.
Absolutely. And if you're going to split the next 2 games, you're looking at that Lakers team, right? Because the Bucks have guys. They have a lot of their guys healthy. They have Giannis healthy. He's going to be playing. So you look at that Lakers squad, and a lot of those pieces are better when LeBron James is on the court for obvious reasons, right? He makes things better. He facilitates his vision, everything. So who's going to be the guy that's going to be the Kings killer when, on the Lakers? Like, there's always one of those guys. And if there is one of those guys, the Kings got to be ready for that, because in times past, it's always been like, okay, they're the Kings killer and we don't know how to stop it. No, as soon as someone like Kyle Kuzma, whoever, KCP, it doesn't matter. You got to get physical fast. And because guess what? Now, I keep saying guess what? I need to stop saying that. Because now, thank you. Now you have some depth to your bench, right? You have some athleticism. As soon as that second unit came out, even against the Spurs, how much more fun was that to watch these bodies being big, filling up space? And with the Lakers, you got to fill up that space.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kings bench tonight. Of course, you mentioned DeLon Wright, kind of quiet in the second half, but man, it's just big picture wise with this bench unit. You see the potential. You see like what they can be, and the fact that DeLon Wright can come in when Fox and Hield aren't doing anything and come in and give you 14 points off the bench when they're 0 for 12. He kept them in the game. Halliburton in that stretch kept them in the game. But it's just so refreshing to have another guy who can handle, and what that does for the Kings lineup when you can play, when you have multiple guys who can handle the ball. I think that's partly why Buddy's had so much success this month, and really the last 8 games before tonight, is because he is in a position where he's playing with Halliburton and Fox in a starting lineup. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many great looks can you get when you've got 2 other ball handlers on the floor looking to create? That's going to give you a lot of opportunity. That's a big reason Buddy's been putting up his best numbers all year, from points to rebounds to assists, shooting percentages, all highs this season in the month of March, which has been big.
And I'll say the other thing that I feel like Buddy's been doing that is contagious. He's been moving without the ball a lot better, right? Like he's willing to cut. He's willing to have a little 2-man game with Rashawn Holmes. He's willing to do so much more and be so much more versatile on the offensive end too, which is just helping him create so much more for himself.
Next 5 games, Morgan.
Yeah.
Because I like to look at the 5-game chunk.
I know you do.
They got to go 3-2.
Oh, do they now?
I'll give you the schedule. Okay. And tell me how I'm wrong here.
Okay, I know. It's Lakers, Milwaukee.
So you got to beat the Lakers.
Okay.
Then they go at Minnesota for 1 game. Let's fly all the way across the country for 1 game. LA, Milwaukee.
Okay, yeah.
You fly to Minnesota for 1 game. You got to win that game.
Yep.
T-Wolves are terrible. You win that game. Then you come home for Detroit.
Okay.
The Corey Joseph revenge game.
Oh,
Kojo. Kojo double figures again in scoring tonight.
Damn.
So that's 3 right there. And then you go at Utah.
How much do you want to bet really quick in that Detroit game?
Here we go.
That Kings fans on the night chat that evening, if Kojo has a good game, why do we let him go?
No, there is not one person who would say that. No, not one person.
Okay.
Not one person. So I just look at this stretch and you go 3-2.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
3-2. That's what you got to do.
That's
3
not a song.
and 2.
That's not a song.
Like it's kind of a chant.
No, it sounds like you're singing to a whole bunch of kindergartners with some stupid song that you just made up.
Oh my God. Well, look, it's one of those games. Kings offense going into tonight, Morgan, over the last 8 games going into tonight was 7th in the NBA. Their offense is really good.
It is.
And so I trust that the offense will be better against the Lakers and they'll bounce back.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it because now games feel like they matter a little bit more. And that's why.
At least for now. By the end of this week, we could be like, all right, let's start talking about the draft. Who could the Kings get in their 10 to 15 range? Let's talk about it.
And that's so realistic, Deuce. That's what happens every year. So you know what? That's why I don't have these high hopes and being like, oh, they figure it out because they win a few games. But you also got to use your eyeballs, believe what you see, and you see where the talent is on this squad too.
Kings lose in San Antonio 120 to 106. They fall to 22-26 on the year. That 5-game skid or losing, you know what I'm saying. The 5-game winning streak is over. I'm so used to saying them in losing skids.
Yes, that was
the 5-game winning streak is over. Those are our first thoughts.